makes her turn in her paycheck, and he settles all the bills and sets her down to account for the books, and she won't read them because she doesn't understand them anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Bobbie. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, Lloyd, I understand now that we do have a name for this news magazine
Yes,
program.
Monitor.
Seems to me I've heard that name before.
Yes, but don't tell anybody, because it used to be an old radio program, and I've noticed that whenever I said Monitor, anybody under 30 doesn't know what I'm talking about, so you've just done a terrible thing.
Okay, I'll erase that part of the program. Anyway, what sort of format, then, can we expect to see on Monitor?
Well, if you remember the old weekend, that's about the same mix. It will be done differently because we've learned things we didn't know then, but it won't be 60 Minutes, and it won't be 2020, and it won't be NBC News Magazine with David Brinkley for sure, but it'll just be whatever we can find that's interesting, we will do.
Will it be short formats, short pieces, as opposed to, 15, 20-minute type things?
The ones we're working on right now that we already have edited, the shortest is 3 minutes, the longest is 18. We imagine that if we stay on the air, sometime sooner or later a producer will come in and say this is going to take at least 30 minutes, and we'll look at it, and he's right, and we'll do a 30-minute piece. There are no rules. The only real rule is that if Cy Perlman, the executive producer, doesn't like it, it isn't going on the air. So that's a fairly simple rule. You can keep it in mind rather easily.
You mean, Lloyd, that you really don't have the final say?
Oh, no. And I'm glad. I have other considerations to worry about. Cy has to worry about the pieces that go on the air. I have to worry about getting them written. I'll be going into the field from time to time. I'll have to worry about that. And the truth of the matter is, Cy is better at deciding what people are interested in than I am. I don't know why that should be, but it's true. And I've worked with Cy since 1974, so I know it's true. So I'm perfectly content to let him be the boss. Somebody has to be, so I choose him.
Lloyd, it's been really a mystery to me, because there have been other NBC News Magazine programs that have been very well done, been anchored by good, solid people, and yet you look at the ratings and they're just not there, and you look at some of the others, and let's just say 2020 and particularly 60 Minutes, and there they are,
Well, there they are now. You have to remember that for the first 7 years that 60 Minutes existed, because it went on the air in September 1968, 60 Minutes existed solely to answer the question, what's the lowest rated program in television? For their own reasons, and I don't know what they are, officials at CBS decided they were just going to keep 60 Minutes on and find an audience sooner or later, and they did. NBC went on the air with First Tuesday in January 1969. When Monitor starts in March of '83, it will be the 7th attempt at a news magazine program. Weekend was 4. That lasted 4.5 years, but 4 of those years were late Saturday night. So it's not that the programs have been bad, but the network's commitment to make the program work hasn't been there. I think it is there now. Grant Tinker is determined that he's going to have a news magazine program, and when Grant gets determined, things normally tend to go his way.
One thing that would concern me, though, is that you're going to be on Saturday night, and there will be some blockbuster movies opposite you.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Cable companies are now outbidding networks for blockbuster movies. The blockbuster movies that networks can now get have normally already been on cable. There are 10 million cable subscribers. If they want to watch the movie, they will have seen it by then. Movie ratings on television have been going down.
So you really think you have a pretty good shot then?
Yeah. Fantasy Island, which controls the time period now, only has 5% of the available adult males. Historically, a successful news magazine program must have an audience of at least 50% adult males. Well, they're not watching the movie and they're not watching Fantasy Island, so if they want to watch television, there's only one place to go. The question is, at that hour on Saturday, does anyone want to deal with news? That's sort of, I've always thought of it as let loose night. I really didn't. Saturday is not a day for serious thinking, so I don't know. I'll have to find out if the audience is there or not. If it is, then we'll be in fine shape. If it's not, then Grant says he'll move us to someplace where it is. So.
Well, that's an encouraging bit of news from the upper floor then.
Oh, I
isn't it?
think he means it. He has told me several things since he's been there. All of them have always been true. It would, I confess to being no less paranoid than anybody else in the business. But since the man has never lied to me, it would take more paranoia than I can muster to assume that he's lying now. I mean, it would be totally out of character. He's committed to the program. He is not necessarily committed to me or to Cy. If we don't do it right, we will be replaced. But that's fair. It's as it should be.
Was it a frustration for you to move from NBC News overnight, because that program has really caught on?
Yes, it was. I miss it. I particularly miss Linda Ellerby. We shared an office for 5 years, close personal friends. Her fiance is my oldest friend, a man I started working with in '62. But I don't do what I want to do. I do what I am told to do. And Reuben Frank, who is also a close friend, said, "Lloyd, I want you to do the magazine." And I said, "Yes, sir." If I don't do what he wants me to do, then he'll just order me to do it, and that's not going to accomplish anything. And I don't, I'm sorry it happened this soon, but I must admit, I knew that one or the other of us would leave fairly soon, because he had other problems he had to solve. He had to have a writer for this program, and either Linda or I could have done it, and it was fairly obvious he was going to take one or the other of us.
Well, we'll be looking forward to the
thank you.
premiere of Monitor.
If you watch, you will be helping me celebrate my 47th birthday.
All right.
It's the network's present to me.
All
They
right.
gave me my own show again.
It'll be a Saturday night, and I'll toast you. Cheers.
Good, thank you.
Nice seeing you, Lloyd.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
Good. We're rolling. Stand by for speed.
How long is this supposed to be?
It can go about 15,
Okay.
Okay, we have speed anytime.
when you're ready.
Okay. I'm Lloyd Dobyns of NBC News. Dallas and Fort Worth are fortunate to have one of the most professional news teams in the country, Channel 5 Action News. Your news from your kind of people.
That was
Great.
wonderful.
Yes, very good.
That was wonderful. They sweat boys.
Uh,
Great.
Read that shit like I mean it, don't I?
You were so convincing. I have such a hard time not taking back with me. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
That's right.
There's going to be,
Yeah, that's correct.
yeah, okay.
Okay, let's close it up. Okay, we have speed.
Okay, questions? Monitor. Seems I've heard that name before. Okay, we'll just erase that part of the program then. What will the format be, Lloyd? Will it be more like 20-minute segments or very short pieces, or what? NBC has had some other news magazine programs, very well done, anchored by very solid people, and yet they have never been able to compete with 2020 or 60 Minutes. You're going to be on Saturday nights. Now, what about blockbuster movies that the competition will put opposite you? How committed is the network to this news magazine? So you feel pretty encouraged then? Was it at all frustrating for you to have to leave NBC News overnight just as it was really catching on? Okay, that'll do it. So now we have to tear down.
We're rolling. Stand up to speed, please. Okay, Bobbie, go speed. Are you ready?
Okay, Jacqueline Smith questions. Jacqueline, trial lawyer brings up a kind of image of a craggy-faced man. Here you are, a beautiful young woman. In approaching the role, what did you do to kind of overcome that image? We remember very well your portrayal of Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy in the TV movie. Did you have any feedback at all from the Kennedy family? I'd be willing to bet that Jacqueline Kennedy's Onassis saw every bit of it, even has a tape of it. By the time you finished that Jacqueline Kennedy, by the time you finished the TV movie on Jacqueline Kennedy, did you have a pretty fixed idea of who and what kind of woman she is? You have a little boy, don't you? So many people constantly refer to Sidney Sheldon's books as sleazy. Is there any chance that this miniseries could become a regular series? Is it up to you then? Okay. Bare Essence questions. Jeannie Francis, Ian McShane. Does it irritate you that people still and probably forevermore are going to say Laura of Luke and Laura General Hospital? Do you have any second thoughts about leaving General Hospital? At the time you left, and maybe right after you left, was there a little bit of fear that maybe your career plans wouldn't work out? I read that there was some question about you not I read that there was some question you might not do this series. True or false? Ian, your character is described as an Onassis type character. Do you like that kind of connotation? You're from England. Do they have soap operas in England? Are soap operas popular in England? Ian, do you think you can predict English audiences better than American audiences? Are English audiences easier to predict than American audiences? Oh, some people think it's tacky that some people think it's tacky that the network would be going ahead with this Princess Grace project. The Family Tree, Ann Archer, Martin Hewitt questions. And is there any possibility that this 6-part miniseries would become a regular series? If this should become a regular series, how would that dovetail with your movie plans? Were you pleased with the response and the reaction to Waltz Across Texas? Did Waltz Across Texas meet your expectations and those of Terry Jastrow, your husband? Was it always planned to use a deaf child in the series? Martin, for all of you actors, how was it working with a deaf child in the series? How is it working with a deaf child on the set? Martin, you were in Endless Love with Brooke Shields. The critics came down pretty hard on that movie. What do you make of that? You are in the movie Yellow Beard, which Marty Feldman was directing at the time of his, yeah. You're going to be in the movie Yellow Beard, directed by Marty Feldman. Unfortunately, he died just as the movie was completed. Do you have any particular memory of him that you'll carry with you? Did Marty Feldman seem to be under any particular stress while he was making the movie? Okay. Oh, we've already done Lloyd Dobyns. I believe that's it. I believe so. Yeah, hey, that's it.
Barbie, please.